Hey everyone, Maury Curtis Dunbar here with Painted. Welcome back. We are back in the studio. Give me just a second to open up my iPad so I might have a shot of seeing any comments that come up. Turn the volume down. That's already done. Oh, the joys of getting this all set up. You know, it's never fast. Technology just doesn't work as fast as I think it should. I want it to be instantaneous. I want to be able to say it and it shows up that way. Not that that actually works that way. All right, here we are. I've got the screens open and we are going to go back. Hang on a second. Let me let everybody know. I'm trying not to do that @followers thing too often because I know it annoys some people, but sometimes because it's the only way we have to let you know that we're live, I just kind of throw it in every maybe once a week. And this is going to be kind of an interesting one because we've got a lot of stuff going on. So on Friday, we were doing our little wood stained ornaments, and here is the mushroom. And you can see this little white dot or metallic dot here on there. Sorry, I'm checking to make sure I'm in the screen and you can see me. So we're going to work on these today, probably finish them up if I can. If they're dry enough, I'll seal them up too. But we're going to finish up what they're expected to be. We're going to start a couple things. We're going to start a stamped gilded panel, but we got to do the imagery first. So I'm going to show you how we're going to get through that. And you've seen me usually do something like this with sort of knocking things over. Ecclesiastical stuff, because there were photographs that I took because I love old Italian Gothic paintings, and a lot of them have punch gilding on them, which is where the gilding is stamped, the surface is stamped into, and it creates texture and all that sort of thing. And that was very traditional in Italian Gothic painting. We're going to kind of modernize this and do something a little different. We're going to use an image, a photograph that I took of something that is absolutely non-religious, so that you have ideas of how to do it other than the way I originally was showing this. And we're going to have a little fun with it, but that one's going to probably be a longer term project because there's quite a few steps with that, and we'll get to probably the very basics of it today. And we're also going to do some gilded cast resin animals, but they're going to be gilded a little differently. I found a supplier for red metallic leaf, not Japanese colored silver, which is brittle. This is metallic red leaf. I'm going to assume that it's some sort of coated aluminum leaf, because the colors are very true and vibrant, and we're going to play with that a little too. So today is sort of either finishing stuff up or beginning stuff. So today we're going to get right into it. The first thing we're going to do, this is the image that we're going to use for our panel. Now, as you can see, these are white hydrangeas. I took this photograph myself this summer in Cape Cod, and I simply printed it out on my inkjet printer. Did not go out and have anything expensive or fancy printed. I just made sure that my inkjet printer was printing really well. I did a head check, a head cleaning, all of that stuff, because at one point, and this is what happens with a lot of printers, I was getting lines through my printing, which didn't matter if I wasn't printing something important, but photography, you don't necessarily get great pictures printing off your inkjet printer to begin with. So I needed to really adjust to make sure my images were printing well. And the other thing is I had to play with it on my phone to make sure what printed here was good enough to put other stuff on top of. So I played with if you have an iPhone, it has its own editing in there, so you can play with the f-stop, you can hit adjust, you can crop, you can enlarge, you can do whatever. I took most of this image, just what it was, and all I did was play with the contrast and the lighting just to make sure I could see things clearly. This was originally shot in portrait mode. I played with the f-stop a little bit, which I can't even begin to explain it because I don't understand it all myself, but what I knew is it made certain parts crisper. So I wanted to kind of stop that portrait blur and give me some better imagery to work with. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to flip the camera right down to where we are. this is, as I've said, this is inkjet. Now, we're going to end up eventually decoupaging this onto our surface here. But the first thing I need to do is I need to seal this ink. Otherwise, when I start brushing anything over it, it's going to do bad things. It will bleed, it will make a mess. So I have been doing this for years. This is part of a class I used to teach. I take Krylon's Crystal Clear. This is acrylic spray enamel. Yes, it's solvent-based acrylic. It's smelly, but you're not using that much of it. So shake the can up really well. And again, this is the product. It's Krylon's Crystal Clear. It says metal, wood, wicker, and more. And I shake it well. Make sure it's, if it has a dot, that it's pointing towards the dot. And then I'm coming up and I'm holding my can. I'm going to angle this so you see it a little bit. I'm holding my can at least a foot away and lightly spraying the surface. Now this will dry very quickly. Do this in a well-ventilated area because it'll make you a little extra happy. And what this does, you don't want to seal it, spray so much that it saturates the paper too much. But what you're doing is now I've sealed the ink on here. So when I go and do my next steps, it won't budge it. So we're going to set this aside. I'm going to set it right down here. And we're going to come in. Whoo, yeah, it's a little stinky, but fortunately I have an air purifier on and I have fans going, so thank goodness for that. The next thing I'm going to do, because I know that this is going to be gilded and this is going to be gilded, I am taking my Roberson's, I spilled a little bit when I was knocking the jar open, so the rim is sticky. Ugh, you can see, I got it all over there. This is Roberson's Liquid Metal in Classic Gold. I'm going to wipe off the edge here. Try to learn from my own dumb mistakes. I mean, truly, I need to come in here and sort of peel this mess up, but I don't think I'm going to get that far today. Right now, I'm just trying to make it so I can touch things and not make too big a mess. All right, so I'm going to come in here. I am going to take my brush. Yes, I can use a bigger brush. This is the brush I'm choosing because it'll help me get around the edges. I'm going to paint this right up to over this edge, this lip. I am not painting this whole thing because we're going to be using the Whitson's gesso on the other areas. So I want to maintain the wood because the gesso will actually just bond right over the wood, acts like a sealer as well as a gesso-like product. It's a real interesting product, and we'll talk about it more when we're using that, but I want gold because I knew I have to seal this part up to do the decoupage, and I know that with what my next step plans are and that we're going to gilding, if this edge is at all exposed, I want to make sure that it is classic gold color. So let's do this. And we should be able to do the decoupage on here before I finish my live. We should be able to get that part done. It will need to be allowed to dry overnight before we do the next step, but we'll get to that tomorrow. So I'm doing the things that I need to let, right now for our live, I'm doing the things that I need to allow to let dry, so that we might get back to the next step on them today. And everything has its steps. And I need to spend a little time, sit down, do some video editing today, all that fun stuff that I never seem to have enough time for. And in that, along those lines, I need a new social media manager. Miguel, who I have worked with for the last 4 years and is wonderful, has kind of outgrown me. So if you know somebody who does social media management who is willing to take on an old lady who paints in her studio, let me know. I'm going to do this in a post part 2, also, so that, you know, I got a shot at finding somebody. And I'm going to have to do it on some of my local groups too, because they really should be local to me. So hopefully I will find someone to help me with my social media again, just because I don't have enough hours in the day to keep up with it all. Okay, now I love Roberson's. The colors are fabulous. It's wonderfully self-leveling. It spreads beautifully. Now these little panels, I got them at Michael's. Not in the store. You have to look for them online. But there's also, and they were very inexpensive. There's also a company called Trekell, Trekell, that does folding panels and all kinds of other panels like this that are more decorative than just a standard, you know, piece of wood. I love this because it had the framing on it. And if it does what I want, I may buy these in bulk. I probably sell them, but I will also use them for more of my own artwork. So I've been trying to figure out, I've had sort of this project in the back of my mind. I hadn't been able to get a grasp on how I really wanted to do it. And I went to a friend's art show on Friday night and was inspired by a couple of other artists there with what they did. Now, it will not look a thing like what they did, but it gave me a direction to go. So now we're going to let this just sit and dry. So those two will be ready to go shortly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to finish off our little guys here. I'm going to zoom in, change my camera angle just a little, and then we're going to zoom in so that we're looking at the actual size of these guys. So the one thing I want to do is I want to give them a little bit of light sanding. This one doesn't need it that much because I covered it with enough of the homemade white sealant that I did when we made the stain on over the weekend, that it didn't really pop any grain. This one, because it was more watery, thinner, it just popped a little tiny bit of grain on the stem, and it was the white because there was some water in it and stuff too. And this is the combination of products we used to make our stain here. For the white, we used Faux Cream Color White and our Old Masters a water-based clear stain base. So you can make your own stain colors. For the top, we used, this one specifically was Poppy Red Primary Elements mixed into this, mixed into the Old Masters stain base. We do not have Poppy Red in stock, although I am looking to bring it in. But we do have Puppy Love and Hot Cinnamon, which are both a little bit darker than this, but they're gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So you can make your own stain, and you can make them in little tiny amounts. And by the way, this is what happens when you let this stuff sit out for 2 days. 4 days. I think this was Friday, so it's Monday, 3 days. It does sort of dry up. So now what we've got to do is we're going to put the dots on the mushroom caps, and we're going to paint our little snowmen and finish both of these up. So as you can see, there's a little dot on here already, and it's sort of this reddish metallic glitter look. And this was a happy accident find for me. I'm using our Twinkle, the C. Roberson's Twinkle paint, and it looks, I've said this before, it looks white, but it actually dries clearish with gold highlight in there. Well, I didn't think about it when I put it on here. I was just thinking, it should dry a little whitish. It doesn't. It actually dried clearish. It pulled a little tiny bit of the red stain up because our stain is not sealed. and then it's drying with the lighter gold in the center. And what I use to do this is a dotting tool. Now, I got a whole big set of these, and they had these ridiculously large dotting tools, but for this curved surface, this actually worked really well. So I just want to get any little extra off of there so I don't make such a big mess that it drips everywhere. And all I did was come in here and put that on and dot. And I'm going to put this on here and dot. And each time you dot, especially on a surface this hard, and we have this little curve in here, you're going to get a slightly different sized dot. Now, I'm only going to do a few of these for a really specific reason. I'm putting dots onto a curved surface, and it might drip. But you see how it makes these little, you can see this one wants to sag a little bit, but it makes really nice little circles. And as it dries, it picks up a little tiny bit of the stain, and then it turns clear. So I'm going to set this over here. I'm going to kind of block it onto something, hopefully, so it doesn't roll and the paints don't drip. If it drips, I'm going to, yeah, see? This one, if I don't watch them, they do want to drip. I put this one up, and these are the two with the most paint. This one starts sagging to the side. So I have to really pay attention to how I set this down, and I may have to rotate it a little bit as the paint starts to set up. And then I just rinse this off here. So take your time. Unlike other surfaces that you might be dotting that would be more level, this is not it. So, and this paint is not super, super, super thick. So you get a little bit, you can have a little bit of sagging happen because you're going on something that's rounded and it wants to do funny things. So I'm just coming in, blowing that paint back into the center. It also helps it set up a little. But when you're on a weird surface like this, don't go too fast. You want to give the paint a chance to set up and level. And like I said, I'll probably come back and give them a blow every once in a while just to keep them from sagging too much. So we're going to work on our little snowman right now. He needs his nose painted, and then he needs his charcoal eyes and his smile and maybe a button or two down the front. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our Roberson's orange gold to paint his nose because it's clearly shaped like a carrot. All right. This is a very new jar. Ooh, it needs a little shaking up. I'm going to put that back on so I don't shake up into the lid. Just give it a little shake up, because like every other paint in the world, it wants to settle ever so slightly. And now I've got the sticky thing stuck to my finger. Great. Oh, it's such hard work being me sometimes. Okay, so we're going to take this orange gold and we're going to paint his little nose. And you might be able to guess that this is not the most complicated paint job ever created. We're keeping these little guys simple. You know, I can get very elaborate with stuff, but for these, because I'm showing you different products and different techniques, I'm trying to keep this simpler. And again, these wonderful Roberson colors just are so gorgeous on things. Okay, his little nose is painted. Let's stick that brush in there for a sec so I can use it for the next color. Put that back on there. Try to keep the paint out of the lid. All right, I need a little bit. Oh, for heaven's sakes, I pulled a red out and I put the red back. I am losing my ever-loving mind. Okay, let's come back here for a second. Yeah, just helping those two little dots dry in the center instead of somewhere else by accident. Okay, and where did I put the color I wanted? That's not it. Okay, I'm going to use our red pearl. Again, this is Roberson's red pearl. And this is my original jar from the United Kingdom, so it's going to be a little thick. But that'll work for what I need for right now. Let me see what I've got for a little brush here. That's the one I want. Get a little water on it just because that'll help me get through the thickness of this paint. Yeah, you can see, definitely a little thick. Again, this jar has been used on and off for the last couple of years because it's not a color I tend to use a lot. So there's a little water there. Oops, let me grab, where am I have, oh my gosh, I put things everywhere. Oh, here it is. I have a little rag today instead of using paper towel just to make my life easier. And I'm putting it in my lap. So maybe this time I won't lose track of it. We're going to take this and we're just going to paint a band on here for the hat. Now, why am I using paint and not the stain? Well, the stain is transparent. Stain won't show well on the black, whereas paint has a little more opacity, and that will work better. Now, if you're not good at painting a band like I'm doing right now, don't get upset. Tape it off, or put a, quite frankly, you could glue a little piece of ribbon on here. That would work fine too. I'm just doing all paint. And I have a little oops spot here, so I'm going to make it like the ribbon band is got a little tie to it. I try to, if I get oopses, I try to find a way to make them work. Because everybody has oopses. So here's my little oops back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and make it like there's a little band of ribbon like you would on some other hats. I know that's not traditional for a top hat, but it's what I got, and I made the mistake, so I'm going to fix it my way. So I'm going to take that like that, and then I'm going to take it like that. If I wanted, I could even paint like a little sprig of holly on there so it looked like Frosty the Snowman's hat in the cartoon. And it's in the back, so nobody's going to really notice it. I'm wiping this off so I don't have to constantly change the paper. So we've got a little band on here. Is it perfect? No. Am I worried about that? No. All right, then we're going to take a little black set coat. This is our Faux Effects set coat in black. I'm going to take a little bit and just put it on this lid. And again, this is an old jar. I have another fresh jar waiting, but I'm using up my old jar first. Okay. And I'm going to take a little brush and go, not too much water in there. Now I can do this with a dotting tool as well, but I don't need to because this is so small. So we're going to put on his little coal eyes and a couple little dots of coal for a mouth. And if I want, I could put a couple little dots down the front for buttons. And he's done. We're going to let him dry. I'm going to seal him up with Varnish Plus, and that should be good to go. Hang on just a second. I want to fix one tiny little spot. There we go. All is well. He's done. We're going to open this camera back up. I'm going to put this to the side and we're going to get on to the next thing. While other things are drying, we just keep moving. So I had seen these online and I was kind of mentally figuring out what I wanted to do. These are little animal heads, and you get these off of Amazon. They're cast in resin, and sometimes they show up broken, and I have repaired some stuff, but I haven't repaired this because this might actually work to my benefit right now to have it as a separate thing before I glue it back together. But this is how this guy is supposed to look. He has glasses on there. We have a bunch of these. And here's another one. I didn't think I was going to get to these until after the first of the year, but quite frankly, I think I've done enough Christmas ornaments this year, now that I've finished up our little snowman and our mushroom, that I would come and work on something else. We have a rabbit. We have a mouse. This is a bear. The rabbit's ears come separately and you attach them after you've... I mean, these are... Ideally, you're supposed to, like, just put them together and hang them on your walls. The rabbit ears are really, really loose in here, so the glue they gave me that went with this... And yes, the ears are truly that different in length. It won't matter by the time I'm done, but it is kind of weird that they made one rabbit ear this length and one this length. It won't matter. It'll be cool. We have... Is that Korean? Oh no, this is a fox. Sorry, got them mixed up. I've opened. This is a fox. This is a mouse. This is a rabbit or a hare. This is our bear. And there should be a deer in here as well. Here's the deer. And the deer comes with antlers and a pipe. I don't know why it has a pipe, but it does. There's a little hole right here for the pipe. So let me pull all of these things out, and then these, the reviews on Amazon says to expect things to come broken. Now, that upsets some people. It doesn't bother me because I knew what I was going to do. I refuse to get worked up about it. So nothing came broken. This actually came specifically off of there, the way it was supposed to. The pipe is right here. The only thing that came broken was the fox's glasses. And as you can see, anything that has parts in it, it comes with a tube of crazy glue. And I have another one that came with the rabbit. So there's a lot of glue to fix anything. Sorry, try not to make a huge mess that I always do. I'm trying to get things a little bit put to the side. So all of this, except any of the glasses and the pipe, all of these heads and ears and everything, I'm about to paint with set coat black. Now, I will not paint the glasses here black. I won't paint those on the mouse black. Those are going to be royal gold liquid metal, and you'll see how this all kind of comes out, but we're going to start with the black painting. And some people would love it just black as it is. I'm using it as a base for red metallic leaf. So let's start here. Yeah, we're going to start this, and all of this gets painted black, and that's what I'm going to be working on right now. And if I get tired of painting black on screen, I may set this aside and we'll come back and we'll do the next step on the panel and call that a day. And then I'll continue painting black in the background, you know, later, off screen. Those are the words I'm looking for. It's Monday. I have been racing like a maniac. I know sometimes Mondays are like, oh, it's just sort of an extension of Sunday, everything's fine. No, my Mondays recently have been absolutely manic. I think it has everything to do with the holiday season. So I'm flipping things around to make sure I get all the parts. And my little baby Remy is floating around here somewhere. Max doesn't like to come into the studio as much as he used to. Now Remy likes to come in because there's heaters and it's warm and he likes to come and snuggle up and see what's going on. Very cute with it. All right. So let's get this going. We're almost done. Now we have people floating around in the warehouse area today, so if somebody interrupts me, I'm going to have to kill them. Now I will get the back of these as well because I want them a solid black front and back. But right now we're just painting the fronts. So I think what I'll do for you guys is I'll paint the rabbit and then I'll take the rest off screen and paint them once I've finished my live, because watching somebody paint something black is, you know, about as exciting as watching somebody let the paint dry. But I just want to get all of this done like this right now. And again, I'm using a smaller brush for the smaller things. I'll get a slightly larger brush to work on here. But you have to watch because these actually have texture on them. You know, they're carved or cast to look like fur. So you definitely want to pay attention and get all the edges and all the little spots. Me, I don't care. You know, everybody gets, oh, you're painting your fingernails. I know. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. It's part of the deal. I get nice nails for a couple days and then I cover them with paint. And that's the way my life has always been. So we're going to let that dry. We're going to come here. Why is that? There we go. Just had a lot of paint stuck on it. All right, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see our rabbit a little better. So here's our rabbit head. And the only place I'm going to use this little brush is to get around the eye and the monocle, because I just need a little bit of control right there. And I'm not going to paint any of the glasses gold or anything until everything else is done. If it's stuck on the face, I'll paint the other pieces separately when they're sitting off to the side. But the ones that are, and I'm going to keep the antlers gold as well. So I'm going to set those over there. Anything else is not going to be gold. The ears on the bunny are not going to be gold. Why am I still using this paintbrush? I lied. Well, let me get around the eye, like I said I was going to do with this brush. Now, I saw a review on Amazon where the gal who had much more breakage than I did said, they came broken. I don't mind. I fixed them. I didn't want them gold anyway. I painted them black and just left all the glasses pieces gold, which is a very cute idea. I love that. It looks fantastic. Now, I'm trying to think if I should leave his whiskers gold, because then that would be a nice contrast. So I might do that. I'm going to go get a slightly larger brush to do the rest of him. So we're going to take this. Again, not a big brush. And I will even be working this chain a little bit to make it a little brighter gold. Get a little water on my brush. And I do fully, because this is so textury, and we're going to be working in leaf, we will have a little bit of exposed black. That I completely expect. If it's too much, I'll put more gold leaf size on and we'll go from there. But I think we should be okay. Quite frankly, even painted black, I think. I like these with the little solid colors because they're, first of all, they're so small. You know, when I looked at them originally online, I thought they were much, much bigger. And then I realized how small they are. So instead of buying one, I just got the full set and said, that's it. I'm going to make this little sort of collage gathering of gilded animals on my walls. Or I'll sell them. I don't know. We'll see what I do. Depends on how they come out. If they come out as well as I think they will be on my website. If they come out a little, if I find it a learning experience kind of thing, they'll end up on my walls. Now these items are cast resin, so they take paint very, very easily. No problem painting them, but I think even just like this, it looks better because I don't like all this brushed goldy stuff with the antiquing in it. I think that makes them look cheap. I think this makes them look sort of surrealistic and modern. I mean, they are already surrealistic with the fact that they have glasses and monocles and pipes and all of that sort of stuff. All right, I'm going to move stuff over here to the side. My other brush is out of the way. Okay, and then we're going to come back. And here is how these little dots, just so you can see them, here's how the little dots are drying. I will finish that, and what we're going to do is we're going to seal them both up with our Varnish Plus in satin or Varnish Plus in gloss, whichever sheen level you prefer. And once that's done, I'll tie their ribbons back on them and take a picture of them, and they'll be posted tomorrow. You'll see them like completed on our page tomorrow. Now let me move all this out to the side here, and I will finish those off screen. All the bits and pieces out of the way, and I will paint all of these solid gold with our royal gold liquid metal. Probably do a little short video of that, you know, because everything I do gets to get videoed. Let's move that here. Let's move that here. And then I'm going to take that stuff off there. We're going to fold. I'm trying to not be wasteful with paper, so I can't necessarily flip it over because then that would get sticky paper on the sheet below it. So I just fold things in half. All right, so the ink is dried, the spray is dried, and our paint is dry enough to work with. So the next thing I need to do is, let's open the screen up. Paint is dry, ink is dry, spray is dry. So now I kind of need to take this and figure out how I want to place it in here. And I want to get most of that in here, and that will work. I'm going to come up here. So I'm just going to take my finger and sort of score the paper lightly with my fingernail. And I did look at my placement and stuff beforehand. This is not like a random thing that I'm deciding looking at this upside down. I took a little time before I even sprayed this to do that. And if you're really particular, you could have cut this out and sprayed it before, or cut the shape out before and then sprayed it. I'm well, you all know me. I'm a little more seat of my pants. So here's this. And I fully expect I will have to do a little bit of trimming here because I just scored it so lightly. But once I get the major cut done, scoring it a little more tightly is easier. Now, if you're really, really OCD, which we all know I'm not, or you really, really like your lines perfect and clean, you could measure this out and cut it with an X-Acto knife and a ruler and all that sort of stuff. It's harder for me to do that on a live because that means switching out papers and doing all sorts of other things. So now this actually it's a little smaller than I wanted it, but it will work perfectly for what I'm doing. It's actually kind of pretty this way. So let me just make sure I've got even edges and stuff here. I thought it was going to end up being a little bigger than I wanted it, and it ended up being a little smaller, but it'll be fine. Okay, and I think this needs to be squared up just a little bit. Again, if you want it more perfect than I did it, absolutely measure, cut, measure again, cut again. This piece is kind of an experiment for me, so sometimes things are throwaways. And I learn from everything that I do when I do something the first time, so I don't really have issues when I make mistakes. Okay, there's that. This is just a little domed here, so turn it this way. Sometimes the patterns can distract you visually, so I take the whiter side and unprinted side and work with that. It's still a little crooked on the bottom. And this is going to be good enough. We're going to call that good enough. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Set Coat Clear. Set Coat Clear from Faux Effects is used for a lot of things, and this is obviously the last of a jar that I had floating around. And one of my favorite things to use it for is decoupage, because when it dries, it creates a perfectly paintable surface. And that's really, really nice to work with. You can paint right over the paintings, over the photos and stuff like that, or the paper, whatever you're using. You can paint right over it because you've sealed in whatever's underneath and created a paintable surface. So first I put it here, because that's what you do with decoupage. You put your adhesive underneath, and we're using this as adhesive. We're not using, you know, the old-fashioned wheat paste and stuff. We're using an acrylic product. I don't like Mod Podge. I don't like a lot of other stuff. This has leveling qualities, and it doesn't dry shiny, 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 which is not what I want most of the time when I'm doing stuff like this. So it dries to the level of sheen that makes me happy, and this is still a little crooked, so I need to pull it over just a little bit. And as you can see, it stays wet enough to work with for a while. All right, and so I get it down here like this. It's all down. And then I'm going to come back over the top and seal it in. Now, your paper may buckle and crinkle a little bit. That's okay. I embrace that. Not everybody does, so if you don't like this crinkling happening, whatever your personal decoupage technique is that avoids that, use it. Now, be careful. The one thing you can't do, like you can do with some other papers, like scrapbooking papers, you can't take a burnisher and scrub this. This paper is inkjet print. You know, this is printer paper. It might work a little better if you used photo printing paper. That you might get better, but it doesn't absorb the same way either. So be understanding of the fact that you're working with something that absorbs fluids and will buckle and bubble a little bit from time to time. That is not a bad thing on here. I take that as part of how this final look comes in. It does not bother me in the slightest. If it bothers you, you're going to have to do it a little differently. You might have to pick it up and re-put it down, reposition it a lot. Let me see if I can lift this up here, because I'm going to have some bubbles right into here because it sucked up the stuff. If you want your bubbles to go away, you can take an X-Acto knife. Hang on, my X-Acto knife. I got tidy. I put it away. You take your X-Acto knife and you feel where your bubble is. You carefully, you don't want to rip the paper, you just want to open it. And then you come back with your brush and you can put some fluids in there. The other thing you can do is, once this has dried to the touch, because the paper might be too fragile, which is what it's feeling like to me. Once this has dried a little and the acrylic has started setting up, come back in and pop those bubbles with the X-Acto knife and push more Set Coat Clear under them. And see where I'm having the bubbles? Right here, right here, right here. It's too damp for my X-Acto knife to want to cut through that and not shred it. So we're going to let this dry. And then I'll come and cut that and then lift it up with a little picker, put some more Set Coat Clear under here, and push it back down, and I will have a firm adhesion. Now, I've been doing this for years, so I don't get freaked out when I see something like this, when I see this kind of bubbling happen. It's not a big deal, literally not. So I'm going to just let that go right now. I don't want to keep brushing it, because even though I've sealed it, it can start, if I brush and brush and brush and brush and brush, it will start lifting up the ink. So you don't want to over fuss it the first time around. You can come back and correct what you want to correct. So we're going to let that set up and dry. And by tomorrow, I will have gotten all these little bubbles sealed down, and we'll be back for the next step. So I'm going to put that to the side. And while we're on live, I'm going to come and do a couple more little dots on my mushrooms, because these are drying just so, this mushroom is just drying so cute with this little metallic red dotting on there. Look how darling that is. I really like that. It was a happy accident that this is how it came out. I couldn't be more pleased. I really didn't think about it, and I just like, oh, there's a paint that'll work, and grabbed it, and wow, just loving it. Okay, so take a little extra paint off of there. We'll go here and put a larger one here. Put a couple little ones here and here and maybe here. And you do run out of paint because this is not exactly an absorbent surface. With a little dotting. And if you don't want to use a dotting tool, if you don't have a dotting tool, use a paintbrush. It all works fine. All right, so I'm going to let that settle over there. That'll dry. Let me Oh Lord, I dropped my towel. Okay. So as you can see, we're working on a couple things right now. Different things will happen on different days. We'll get back to, flip the camera up here while I screw the cap on. So, sorry, my hand's right across the screen. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll work on the panels and we'll work on the animals. And those are going to be ongoing projects, at least for the next week or so. The panels will probably take even longer just because the whole gilding process is a lot longer. But the rabbits and the animals should be ready to go. And we'll finish those out this week. And I will have pictures of our little sealed guys as soon as they're dry enough for me to seal them up. And I appreciate you being here with me on a Monday afternoon in December. I hope that some of the stuff I'm doing gives you some fun gift ideas. I think they're going to be fantastic when we get going on them. And if you like what I'm doing, of course, I'm always, if you don't remember where I said I got something, if it's not something that we carry here at Painted, I will let you know. You can always ask me. I don't gatekeep stuff, so there's no problem asking me where I got things. And we will be back for more fun stuff. All right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.